Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Mila Brujic, and today we're joined with Dr. Joe Pizzimenti, and he's going to be talking about all things OCT on the Optometric Insights show. So Joe, appreciate you being on here. Dr. Pizzimenti is a clinical professor at the Rosenberg School of Optometry in San Antonio. And Joe, you've been on faculty for a long period of time here. Just share with the audience, how you've seen optometric education evolve significantly, in particular in the last 5 years.
Well, first of all, Mila, thanks so much for having me on Optometric Insights. I've felt slighted the past few years that it's taken you this long to invite me onto your series. But better late than never. At any rate, it's great to be here. You and I like to kid around, and you're one of my favorite people, and you do a great job with these podcasts. At any rate, what was the question? About education.
Tell me about the evolution of education. Over the last 5 years.
Yeah, the optometric education is in good hands. One thing that I have found out during my 25 plus years in optometric education is that we still have unbelievably gifted students. We've got wonderfully talented, caring faculty members. I can't tell you, Mila, just how dedicated my colleagues have been. I've been involved in 4 schools of optometry, one as a student, one as a resident, and 2 as a faculty member. And, the leadership has been terrific. And a lot of changes, of course, most of the changes centering around 2 things, the changing demographics of optometry, right? More female optometrists, a bit more diverse in terms of the optometric profession. Of course, we could be more diverse, and I think some great organizations and schools are doing a good job of promoting diversity, and also technology, right? Yeah. So the profession is changing, and technology is changing. And the technology has helped every aspect of clinical care. To think that we're able to study the microstructure of the retina, the optic nerve, the cornea in a non-invasive manner, it's just helped us gain so much knowledge. And it's an exciting time to be an optometry student, practicing optometrist, and especially a faculty member.
I agree with you, Joe. I think back, so I was in optometry school between 98 and 2002, and I know you're thinking, well, that doesn't make sense. If you're only 35 years old, how could you have been in school that long ago?
Head,
yeah, I get it. I understand it. Yeah. But it's interesting. Like, I remember viewing histology slides of the retina, and I remember somebody coming in from across the river in Harvard, and he came in for a guest lecture, and he showed us the first OCT. So this was prior to the Stratus OCT or time domain.
Yeah.
This was pre that. And I remember I leaned over to one of my friends in my class and I said, we're never going to need this in our private practices.
Yeah, this is just for research, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Right. But it was the time when OCTs, even time domain, when you look at time domain versus spectral domain, that was a big jump. And even now to how they've evolved spectral domain, it's unbelievable, which is where you really have kind of a neat interest in OCT technology, Joe. You run one of the neatest conferences, All Things OCT. And Joe, tell us a little bit more about this.
Right, and it's not just OCT, Mila. Obviously, there have been other wonderful technologies that involve specialty contact lens type imaging, corneal imaging. Electrodiagnostic testing has gone from the research lab to the clinical practice, and so it's really across the board. But if there has been one particular technology that has dramatically changed the way we practice in the last 20 years, it's been optical coherence tomography, or OCT. And like you, I was amazed when I saw the first time domain OCT images. Back when I was in Miami, we were one of the first clinics in Florida to have time domain OCT, and we thought that was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Little did we know over the next 2+ decades, just how game-changing it would be. And so the optometric profession has embraced this technology for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's useful. Number two, it's relatively non-invasive, right? We're not injecting any dyes or subjecting the patient to possible allergic reactions or worse, like we do with fluorescein angiography. And I still love fluorescein. It's very important for retinal health. But OCT has really brought optometrists to the forefront of glaucoma, and now the new frontier, which is retina. More and more optometrists are becoming comfortable not just diagnosing retina, but also managing retina that doesn't necessarily require surgery or medical treatment. And OCT has helped us do that. So the whole concept behind All Things OCT was to provide a continuing education meeting and resources that really focused on the clinical applications of this technology, as well as other advanced technologies and treatments.
That's great.
You were part of our first All Things OCT
Yeah.
conference
Yeah.
in 2016. This was the first COPE-approved optometry meeting in the United States dedicated to OCT and all of its applications, from anterior segment and contact lens design, which is what you talked about, all the way on through to retina, glaucoma, neuro eye disease, you name it. And so we've had about a half dozen such meetings. And now, of course, the past year or so, we've had several virtual All Things OCT events.
That's great, Joe. And for the audience, you're going to be able to click on All Things OCT at the bottom of the podcast as well, too, Joe. We'll make sure that we have that available to the audience so that they can see that, they can view that, and hopefully participate in it. I remember, you sometimes don't know what you don't know, and sitting through some of those courses, hearing you talk about retina, Joe, and hearing Jim talk about glaucoma, it was pretty eye-opening at the level and the depth of how deep you guys went into these topics. It was really an eye-opening experience for myself. And you realize sometimes you get just to a certain level of clinical comfortableness with things. And that's when you know you need to kind of take the next step and re-push yourself and figure out, all right, how are we going to do more with the technology? And I really feel like that's what I walked away from that. So kudos to you. But Joe, there's something else that you're kind of involved in as well too, and it's CE in Italy. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, sure will. And just to finish up on All Things OCT, you referenced Jim and I. Jim is Jim Finelli, optometrist from Wilmington, North Carolina, the godfather of glaucoma, as I call him. And really, Jim and I got together and formed All Things OCT. He was kind enough, to kind of let me take it and run with it during his annual iSki meeting in Park City. Of course, Jim, about 12 or 13 years ago, got the brilliant idea to host live COPE-approved continuing education meetings in Italy, where he's a part-time resident, and other countries in Europe. And, Mila, we just have a blast. We go to Italy. Of course, it's our heritage, right? Pizzimenti and Finelli. And so, we get to visit various parts of Italy every year, and branched out into some other countries within Europe. We've been to Austria, we've been to Germany, France. And we've met so many wonderful colleagues that have become, close friends along the way. It's just been a terrific experience. We get some excellent education. We usually get up early in the morning and do our CE, and then we have the rest of the day and evening to play and, go and visit wineries and tour the beautiful Renaissance cities like Florence. So we can't wait to return to Europe, and we're looking at returning to Italy in particular next fall of this year. End of September, we tentatively are planning on going to Sicily for the third or fourth time. And of course, I'll be on that trip. I am half Sicilian, and so that's where my people come from.
That's great, Joe. My quick story, my father, before he came to Canada, he actually, we have relatives in Italy. So it's a small town called Latina, which is about an hour southwest of Rome on the
Hmm.
coast. Yeah, so he was there for 6 months, and he told me, he said for the 6 months he was there, he gained 20 pounds just because how good he ate there. And he still remembers that. I mean, he's an 18-year-old kid, and
Yeah.
he gained 20 pounds when he
The
was there.
yeah, the only thing that keeps me from, coming back 10 pounds heavier is all the walking.
That's great. That's
These
great.
cities and towns are just, great to do by foot, and you get to know the locals. And Jim knows everybody. He's there, a few months every year, so he takes us to a small medieval town in Tuscany, and we visit with the locals, and they're just so gracious. Um, so it's a lot of fun, Neil.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you, we appreciate everything you do for the profession, for the soon-to-be profession as well, too, with the students in optometry, and also to really kind of the innovative ways that you're educating with all things OCT and Italy, or excuse me,
Mhm.
CE in Italy as well, too. Joe, thank you for joining us on this episode, and thank you all for joining us on this episode of the Optometric Insights Show.
It's been a pleasure. Hope to see you soon.